It can be invisible.
You look at her and she looks normal.
It's very hard living because people don't understand you.
It's irreversible.
It's a permanent brain injury.
It's hard sometimes.
And for many, it's hard to comprehend.
I'd go to bed crying at night thinking, what am I doing wrong?
I think just people gotta know more about what kids go through.
It is Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorder, or FASD.
FASD is the medical term to describe children who were affected by exposure to alcohol.
When your mother's pregnant with you, she drinks and it goes to your brain, and it's a lifelong disability that you have.
The disability in FASD is as real as the disability of someone in a wheelchair, but it's buried deep inside our brains where we can't see it.
FASD can occur in any culture, in any race, in any community where alcohol is used.
Alcohol crosses the placenta, whether it's an upper-class placenta or a lower-class placenta. It's not selective. The reality is, of course, that 50% of pregnancies are unplanned. So if alcohol is part of a woman's lifestyle, unknowingly she might expose her baby to alcohol during the early stages of a pregnancy.
Prenatal alcohol exposure affects the developing brain in a lot of different ways, so we do see quite a range of problems. Some of the children have intellectual disabilities, but most have problems in specific areas of processing that affect the way they learn and the way they behave.
It's extremely complex. No two people with FASD are affected the same.
And that's because the brain was growing throughout the time of the alcohol exposure, and the brain is vulnerable throughout pregnancy.
I think of it as you go out gardening, you take a handful of seeds and you throw it out on the ground, you don't know where the seeds are going to land. And so alcohol is a little bit like that.
Some of these kids have clear physical symptoms, such as facial features and growth problems, and some of the kids don't. Some of their disabilities are truly invisible, and that's what we refer to as the spectrum.
Parents of children with FASD are searching for hope. They're fighting the prejudices and searching for acceptance.
I don't want anybody ever to say to my kids, you know what, I heard your mom. It's like, yeah, I'm owning this.
Searching for status as a disability.
One of the hardest things is finding the resources, getting the funding for the resources that he needs.
Searching for support and understanding.
Now I get it. Now I'm finding out how the brain works, and I'm going, okay, that's it.
And forging ahead in search of a meaningful life for their children.
I say, Lindsey, even in a storm, you know there's always going to be a rainbow. So we always have to look and find the rainbow. You got 5 more minutes, my love.
Okay. Teleportation.
Single mom Julie Folland first noticed that her daughter Lindsey was having problems at 4 years old.
Every time we'd go to pick her up from daycare, there would always be something or other that had happened in the day that was not acceptable. Like she was hiding in the cubbyhole and didn't want to come out. Well, I guess it was too overwhelming, the noise. She was getting overstimulated.
Lindsey, the flower you gave me, I think, is like...
Julie took her daughter to the doctor,
Can I throw it out now?
but she feared she already knew the problem.
It's very beautiful.
I had spent that whole summer at barbecues and having ciders and margaritas and all those lovely summer cocktail drinks.
Reality is that 50% of our pregnancies are unplanned, and up to 50% of Western women drink in our society. So that's 1 in 4 pregnancies, there may be some alcohol exposure.
I had the ultrasound, and that's what they diagnosed me as, 18 weeks pregnant.
Any woman of childbearing age is at risk for giving birth to a child with FASD if they're consuming alcohol during pregnancy.
One of the biggest debates is how much is too much. The important public health message is to plan your pregnancies and to stop drinking before you conceive.
A baby's brain and body develop throughout the 9 months, so there is no safe time or safe amount to drink during pregnancy.
you have to look at blood alcohol levels. So binge drinking is worrisome. What's in mom's bloodstream meets the baby. Baby doesn't have the same metabolism, the same liver enzymes. Developing baby is developing, so that there are cells that are being told to go certain places, and alcohol may change the direction or timing of those cells. It does very much change how things are programmed to occur.
Did you have homework last night?
No.
Finish chapter 2 questions. Lindsey's affected in a way emotionally, not necessarily intellectually. It's like a record. When it skips and it stays in the same thing. And that's how Lindsey will get. She can't let something go.
Like, they think that you're behaving bad, but it's not that. It's different.
People think that they won't, and it's really that they can't.
It's very hard living with it, and yeah, it's very hard because people don't understand you.
The problems and behaviors that children have are not problems that they can consciously control. So it's important that we stop expecting that when they get motivated enough, they will adapt to us. It's important that we start adapting to them and giving them what they need from the start.
The full syndrome FAS is considered one of the leading known causes of birth defects in the Western world.
The number of children born with FASD surpasses those born with muscular dystrophy, HIV, spina bifida, and Down syndrome combined. In fact, Health Canada estimates that 9 out of every 1,000 babies born have FASD. That's 10 children every day in Canada.
1 in 100 births, 1% of the population of British Columbia. If you do that math, it's a significant number of people with FASD.
When Lindsey's FASD was confirmed, Julie hit a personal low.
I can't blame, a chemical in the air or a drug company. It was me drinking. I did this to her, right? Nobody else. So you can't beat me with a bigger stick than I haven't already done. Every day, I don't think, when I look at her, what have I done? What have I caused her? What kind of life? That was then, and I can't fix that. But I have to make sure I'm here for her now and tomorrow.
There is a stigma attached. We need to get over that. And we need to recognize it as a form of injury, a brain injury, caused by a commonly used substance.
Julie recently told Lindsey about her diagnosis.
Finding out that she has FASD has helped her make sense of why certain things don't make sense. She knows that yesterday they made sense and today they don't.
Now Julie is determined to educate others.
Basically what I figured out is I'm the expert because I'm with her 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and other people don't understand. They're still in that she won't stage. Not that she can't, but that she won't. Because you look at her and she looks normal. She, for the most part, acts normal. Penguin zipper. She can behave like a 5-year-old at times, and other 9-year-olds think she's weird, so they don't want to play with her.
Oh, that
The kind of decisions that kids have to make in social situations actually involve different processes in the brain than some of the decisions that they have to make about straightforward school tasks, like a math question, where when we're making social decisions, there's actually a huge amount of information that goes into that. For kids with neurological disabilities, the brain just can't juggle all of that information, and so some pieces of the information get lost, and they're essentially making decisions without having all of that information to draw on.
Hey, Sita. Some people think you're weird, and then you don't make friends. And all you want to do is make friends and make the world a better place.
Julie spends every minute of her day trying to find better ways to help her daughter achieve her potential.
Who haven't I phoned? Who haven't I contacted? Who has more information? Who has answers?
But one of her toughest quests is to find a school that meets Lindsey's needs. Gladys Evoy walks through Vancouver's downtown east side, once home to her troubled past. She now moves forward with positive energy and purpose.
I ended up for 18 years on the streets. I got pregnant with a little girl. Her name was Nicole, and I had to give her up for adoption. I had nowhere to live. And all I knew was my alcohol and my drugs. And then I had 2 boys, and I never went to the doctors. The reality didn't hit till I had them, and I seen them. And they were 3.9 and 4.9. And they were so small, and they had all these wires hooked up to them, and I didn't even feel worthy enough to hold my own children.
Women don't deliberately choose to injure their babies. For example, alcoholism tends to run in families.
It could have been me growing up and watching my dad beat on my mom when I had my first boyfriend beat on me. Oh, he must love me. That's what I thought, because I grew up in that. Growing up on violence and alcoholism constantly, you don't know another alternate, you know, it just is.
The boys went into foster care. Gladys went back to drugs.
For 6 months, I was back out there with a vengeance. I didn't care what happened to me. I came really close to dying.
Eventually, Gladys joined a recovery program and fought to regain custody of her sons. But that meant facing another reality. Both her boys had FASD.
That was a big pang of guilt. It's bad enough what I've put myself through, but now I've affected 3 children with my alcohol and drug use. Some of the challenges, you know, just simple things. You can't just say, have a bath. You know, the bath, they'd have a bath, but forget to turn the water off. It's just simple things that we take for granted that is quite a challenge. With my one son, I couldn't just play and tickle him. He would get so hyper and up there, he couldn't come back down. I remember making them make lines. I will not hit my brother, I will not stab my brother, because he was stabbing him with a thumbtack.
No 2 kids are alike with FASD. And the differences that we see in brain and behavior will be related to many factors, including the timing of the exposure, the health of mother, the susceptibility of the fetus to that exposure. It has so many other variables impacting that it's too simplistic to go back to that light switch diagnosis of you either have FAS or you don't.
These days, Gladys has a clear mission: to support other mothers in avoiding alcohol use in future pregnancies.
I'm hoping to help them regain their self-respect and self-love, and to be able to show people have done what you've done and been able to get out of that, and that there is a solution. And FAS can also stand for finding a solution.
You want some juice or water?
Water.
Amy Emmett also spends her days searching for solutions for her 11-year-old son, Jordan.
Jordan has FASD, and I am his advocate full-time. I think that's good, eh?
Yeah.
Lunch done.
The Emmets adopted Jordan and his older sister Lily 7 years ago, when Jordan was 4.
About 5 minutes, buddy. Jordan could not speak. He could say about 20, 25 words. They were all foul language. He wasn't toilet trained.
That's Sherry.
Is that Sherry? Did you draw a picture of Sherry?
Yeah, and
It was very, very challenging. We both realized very quickly that I wouldn't be able to work with having Lily and Jordan.
not eating, that's the person.
Does Sherry know that?
Yep.
Oh my goodness. We just knew it was fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. Other than that, we had no idea how it would affect his brain or anything.
You just do the best you can do, right?
Yep.
Can you write the word can?
He was displaying 1.5, 2-year-old behavior. That's when we started realizing it. Even at 4, he was a baby.
Ow.
Good job. High five. Okay, boy.
Some of the things that have been found to protect kids from the negative effects of FASD are being in a stable home situation from an early age, having a life that's free from abuse and neglect, having their problems diagnosed early so that they're able to receive appropriate support services and so that the important people in their lives recognize their disability and what help they need.
Okay, now you had a look.
I forgot.
No, let's try it without it.
Most people don't know about it. When you mention FASD, I mean, it's just like, it's like a common cold to most people. Well, you know, like, take some pills and get over it. And Jordan will never get over it.
It's such a big scope to cover, but everything in Jordan's life has to be done very simplistically. Structure, routine, constantly, which means the whole family has to live their life like that.
That says what do you need there?
A D.
Good job. Okay, go for it.
What Amy and Bob also learned is that Jordan's brain injury is specific to him.
It is important to have a complete diagnosis and assessment for FASD because every individual is different in their learning patterns and strengths and weaknesses.
What did your mom say about coming in today?
FAS has a whole spectrum, so indeed there are individuals who show the facial features that happen because alcohol is used at a time when our eyes are forming, when our face, our mouth, lips are forming. But for every one of those children, we see 10, maybe 20 who have none of the physical features, but they have the same development and behavior features.
Boy, 43 inches. We often see a person having difficulties with behavior, attention problems, for example, language problems, memory problems, everyday life experience.
Is this month over yet?
No, this is today.
People with FASD often don't learn from their actions, so they keep repeating the same mistakes over and over and over again.
That day, I go to school.
Yep, school starts now.
He'll always be with us. He'll always be with somebody. When we get too old and we can't take care of him anymore, he'll go into a group home for himself.
It's about understanding. When you understand that a person has a brain injury, then you see that person differently.
Hang the cloth up.
Recognizing that their behavior isn't a deliberate, defiant behavior in sense of people don't choose to have a bad day as a result of a brain injury.
Put it in the box.
With a proper diagnosis, Amy and Bob were able to help Jordan
Close the box up.
by putting certain systems in place that allowed him to be
there.
more successful.
The big thing was changing the environment. We started realizing that Jordan was ultra-sensitive to certain types of lights. So we went and we bought all low voltage lights.
Okay, good job. High five.
We stuck with very, very low key colors. The home that he had come from had told us that they had to nail down his furniture, and Bob and I kind of laughed at each other saying, oh, well, that's not going to happen here.
Teddy bears.
And sure enough, it happened here. We were quite shocked, so we actually built in his bed, built in his dresser.
Okay, let's go in the bathroom and check the bathroom
He had a
out.
lot of really angry issues, and he would just start ripping his room apart.
And your face cloth, wring it out as tight as you can, please.
When I was 4, I was really aggressive, and I got even more aggressive, so I guess that was a little bit of the wrong medication, and the doctor said maybe you should be good without pills.
Good job. Close the curtain.
Now I'm starting not to be aggressive, a little bit.
Okay, you done good, boy?
He has come so far.
Where are my belts? A bunch of belts.
He really wanted to grow up. He wants to be so much like other kids. So we slowly added things to his room. We got a couple of posters, and they stayed up.
A bunch of army guys in here. Have army tanks.
He's got everything in his room now.
And this is my other medal from the field trip we went from Savory School. And Savory School was lots of fun, too.
The cardboard is there so Jordan can't see himself. If he sees himself, he won't brush his teeth. He'll just make faces at himself. So he'll be in here for half an hour doing nothing. Did you brush your teeth?
Yeah.
When? Can you go brush your teeth?
Yep.
All right.
He definitely has sensitivity issues, which makes brushing his teeth 3 times a day a real challenge. Lily helps with that sometimes.
Sometimes I feel sad for him and everything, and I wish that like I could help him more.
Okay, go now.
He's just like any other kid, and he wants to have fun, and he wants to make lots of friends, and he doesn't want to get made fun of.
All done?
Yeah.
Oh,
Let me see.
my hair, you know.
A new school year starts next week. To help Jordan prepare, Amy wants him to practice the morning routine, including the walk to school.
At the heaven and not.
Yep.
Nope.
But even the first small step presents a challenge.
Yep.
Sucks.
He gets frustrated very easy. And of course, learning to tie shoes is difficult as it is, but for him it's even more difficult. Took him about 1.5 years to learn.
Well, it kind of affects the whole household at those times. Sometimes it's like really annoying, but then other times I just try, like today I was like patient.
Oh, do I have to do it in a... No! I hate double knots.
Kids have a lot more difficulty controlling their impulses. And if you think about how we all react when frustrating things happen, we all have that impulse to do something inappropriate, but we're able to hold off until we have the chance to think it through more fully. One of the fairly primary disabilities of FASD may be that kids don't have that reaction time. And so the problem is not that they have different impulses than the rest of us, but that they do the things that the rest of us think but don't act on.
He picks the way we go. He likes to go a certain way. So, and it just gets him into the routine. Okay, this is what we have to do every day and that sort of thing, so.
Jordan needs this practice because it's been 2 months since school ended.
This is refreshing his mind from last year and getting him used to the hallways and where his classroom is. And so he sets it in his brain. It flows much easier for him.
But school starts Monday, and Amy still doesn't know if Jordan will have a teaching assistant, which is crucial if Jordan is to successfully get through the year. When sisters Cheyenne, Brianna, and Veronica joined Debbie Diamond's family 8 years ago, she had no idea she'd face a challenge far greater than simple sibling rivalry.
Cheyenne just got called into work, so we were on our way to drive her to work. I didn't know anything was different about the girls until shortly after, like, you know, a couple of weeks. You'd go to say something to them and they'd go, yeah, I know, and then they'd turn around and do it right over again. You'd be sitting there watching her write her name on the wall. Brianna, you don't write on the wall. I know. Well, you're writing on the wall. No, I'm not. And yet she's writing on the wall. It wasn't there. And I'm thinking, there's something wrong with this. I'd go to bed crying at night thinking, what am I doing wrong?
Debbie couldn't understand why the girls were so different from her other children and why they behaved so differently from each other.
The three are not affected the same. Cheyenne, she has some little quirks. And yes, she needs to be reminded on every day what to do and how to do it, but she's going to be able to have a job, which she does. She works at Tiger Lily Farm.
Back up. At work, we have a schedule for milking goats, and I'm not good at taking that in. It takes me a while, and if it gets changed, my mind is still on the old schedule, so I'm not good at learning new things. Dealing with change is hard.
Ow, ow! Oh, why are you sitting there?
It's fun.
Brianna is very forgetful, has to be reminded every day to bath. She'll go through a whole tub, and because I don't tell her use soap and shampoo, she didn't do it. Brianna has very bad anger problems. She breaks things, throws things, usually towards me. I'm her safest spot, so I'm the one that gets the brunt of everything.
I can't do as many things as other people can do at once. I get frustrated easily. Angry easily too. And I have trouble learning in school. Sometimes I don't tell people I have FASD. I tell them when I get confused with them. I'm like, okay, I have this. I can't understand you. I can't do a whole bunch of things at once.
I know which ones are roosters.
Veronica is emotionally, she's very immature. She's 9, but I say no and she just screams. Veronica, come in and play with the chicks for a second.
Maybe I can call my mom. I'm terrified of chickens.
And she'll have temper tantrums, like she'll go scream in the bedroom and then she'll come out and she'll go, oh, I'm sorry, I guess that wasn't the right thing to do, was it, Mom? I go, no, it wasn't.
These outbursts can occur because prenatal exposure to alcohol changes the way the brain processes information.
The processing problems that are associated with FASD have a lot to do with how kids are able to manage their responses to emotions and how they're able to plan ahead and see the consequences of their actions.
These processing problems can lead to difficulties with social interactions.
Can't keep friends, that's another problem with the girls. Or the friends that they do get are usually ones that you don't really want around, which is sad.
It's hard sometimes. You can't have problems in public school. You have to be perfect and right on everything. I don't feel like it's something I should tell them right off the bat. Oh, I'm shy and I have FASD. How are you?
Sometimes it can be hard, and I think just people gotta know more about it, about what kids go through. They're learning problems, and how sometimes people don't understand them because they just think they're no good, they're just not listening. But that's not what's happening.
Diagnosis makes a difference. Without a diagnosis, kids get labeled, and those labels can be quite disparaging. You know, dumb, lazy, loser. With the diagnosis, kids can realize that that I'm differently abled. I may not be able to do this that way, but let me show you what I can do.
For 3 years, the Diamond family struggled to understand what was happening.
Everybody was at tension all the time. So I said, enough is enough, I can't do this anymore. And that's when they pulled White Crow out of the pot, and I'm thinking, what in the hell's White Crow gonna do for me? Like, why would I take these kids to a camp? I can't take them to a store. Why would I wanna go spend a whole week with them in a camp? Like, get a grip. Whatever, can't lose. So we packed all the kids up and we went to White Crow, and the best week we could have had. Now I get it.
White Crow Village Camp was crucial in helping Debbie Diamond begin to understand her 3 girls.
It's completely experiential. You have to live in it in order to really catch on to it.
White Crow Village is one of the few models that exist to help families of children with FASD.
White Crow is a wonderful place where I have learned so much. There is the stuff that you learn in textbooks. There is the stuff that you learn in the ward and in the emergency room and in the clinic. And then there's White Crow. And White Crow adds so much more understanding.
We have a crew of about 12, and there are 2 of us who are not fetal alcohol affected.
The team leaders are a crucial component of the White Crow model. Most are affected by FASD, and for the children and families, they serve as both mentors and role models.
I just really enjoyed that there was a community out there that was working with kids that had the same disability I had, and I thought what a great opportunity just to give back and mentor kids in a way such that I had never been